we are. And on this note, I would like to pass on the mic to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Nigeria and the world. That was a very powerful one. And considering the fact that I already stood on this podium to speak on the topic I am Nigerian, I feel quite proud right now. Because despite everything, despite our systems, despite the contradictions, despite the chaos, the Nigerian spirit can never be broken. My name is Oluwagbemisola Hannah Ogumefu, and I will be speaking on the topic parental involvement in the education of their children when little becomes too much. Parental involvement when little becomes too much. I remember when I was doing my postgraduate degree in education, the topic I researched upon then was the importance of parental involvement in the education of their children. And that was because as at that time in Nigeria, parental involvement was at an all-time low. Then parents believed that as long as I've paid the school fees, every other thing depends on the teacher for my child to succeed. So it was the work of the teacher to make sure that the children learn, the children do what they needed to do, the children become successful generally. And I wouldn't blame them anyways, because as at that time or prior to that time, education had always been, or let me say formal schooling had always been the teacher coming to class to disperse knowledge, to impact knowledge into the children, into the students. But as time went on, there was a shift in the education space, and we see teachers no longer impacting knowledge in students, but becoming facilitators of knowledge. And what does that mean? It means that I, as a teacher, I do not come to tell you what you need to know. I am only like a signboard to direct you to where you need to go, to what you need to know. But it is your job as the student to discover that thing. I won't tell you. And what was the importance of that shift? It took away the power from the hands of the teachers and gave it to the students. Because as a student, a learning facilitated by themselves lasts longer. So what they research upon themselves, what they discover themselves, they get to retain it for longer period than what was just spoken to them and they just regurgitate. So it was imperative at that time to begin to encourage parental involvement, so that parents in turn can encourage their children or wards to begin to study on their own. At that period, we began to have things called flipped learning. And what does flipped learning mean? Before you come to class, unlike in the olden days where you come into class, if I want to tell you about the history of Nigeria, for example, it is when you come into class that you begin to hear it for the very first time. But in the case of flipped learning, the teacher would have given you some resources to go and research upon, Or better still, the teacher would tell you, oh, in the next lesson we will be talking about the history of Nigeria. Go and research. The teacher could even give you materials to look at. And then when you come into class, we begin to discuss. So what have you researched? This person could have only researched the pre-colonial era. The other person could have only researched the colonial era. The other person could have researched only about the constitutional development in Nigeria. Another person could have only researched about, let's say, the presidential system of government. And by the time everyone comes back with their research, we discover that we have a fuller class because everyone reads the same material the same way but digest it in different ways. And because of that, they bring out different ideas from it. And when all these ideas are brought together, it gives a broader outlook on that topic. And that was why, after some time, teaching had to move to flipped learning, which is still ongoing presently. And because of that, teachers didn't become disempowered. They only became differently empowered, because now you are not the alpha and omega of your class, although you are still kind of. But now you are a facilitator of learning. So your work as a teacher is to empower the students to believe in themselves, to believe in the potential they carry, to believe that they can do more, much more than you can even give to them. Little wonder Alexandra K. Trenford mentioned that the best teachers are those who show you where to look but do not tell you what to see. And that was why I said earlier, teachers began to act as signboards, directing students the way to go, but not necessarily telling them exactly how to get there. They began to encourage critical thinking, building soft skills in students, research skills. But something has shifted. And that's why I'm here today to speak with everyone that is committed to the flourishing of our children, to have this very honest conversation with us, unfiltered and extremely necessary. There is a problem that is affecting every school presently. It's like a pandemic, affecting every classroom, affecting every child, and affecting every staff room. It's a growing trend. It's not just in Nigeria. It happens all over the world presently. So it is a growing trend that most teachers whisper it amongst themselves. They talk about it in staff rooms, but none of them have ever spoken out. And that is why I'm here today, to talk about the wave of excessive parental involvement. I know, yes, we clamored for it. We asked for it. But what we had in mind as teachers when we were asking for it is very different from what we are having today. And you know very well that for every action there is a reaction. And due to the action of what is going on presently, the reaction is becoming alarming. And that's why this talk is extremely important at this time that we find ourselves. Let's look about the changing educational landscape. Before now, like I said, parents had absolute trust in the teachers of their children. They had absolute trust that when I commit my child to you to teach, you will not only teach my child academics, but you would also teach my child morals. In as much as I also teach my child morals from home, I am trusting that you're going to uphold the morals that I have embedded in my child from home. And that is why you see cases those days when a child misbehaves. Sometimes the parents will come to school and say, "Teacher, help me deal with this child. This is what he or she has done." We see scenario of students going on with homework and not even daring to bring it back undone. If they don't do that homework, their parents would have to go with them to school to explain to the teacher why it was not done. "Oh, this is the reason, please have mercy." It wasn't like teachers were being autocratic, no. But it just shows the extent at which parents trusted the teachers of their children. But now the educational landscape has changed. Teachers that were once trusted are now walking on eggshells around parents. Every decision they take is now being scrutinized. Every discipline they dish out is now being questioned. Every grade they award is now being challenged. And every policy made is now being debated. Parents now treat schools and teachers like a supermarket or like a business where they will say the customer is always right. Unfortunately, the school is not that kind of business where you say the customer is always right. But then, more unfortunately, is that the school itself has forgotten that it is not that kind of business. And that's why you see them crouching behind the parents, because the customer is always right and they don't want to lose their customers. I remember many years ago, a parent walked to me and told me, I used to be way smaller than this anyways. So I looked at me and said, "This thing you're teaching my child, is it not too hard?" The child was in year 2 then. That's what we call primary 2 in Nigeria. So the child was in year 2. That was 6 years old, thereabouts, in the British system. So she was like, "Oh, what you're teaching my child, is it not too complicated? How do you expect a 6-year-old to understand all these concepts, to do this, to do that? If you had a child of your own, would you do this?" And I was there. I had heard so many times when teachers talk about parents talking down on them that because you don't have a child of your own, that's why you are treating my child this way. And because I looked very small, much smaller than I look right now, even though I'm still looking small. So she looked at me and she was like, "If you had a child of your own, would you tell your child to do this?" And I was just there looking. So I allowed us finish speaking, and then I asked her a question. I said, "May I ask you some questions, ma?" She said, "Yes, go ahead." I said, "Okay. May I ask, how old is your child?" She looked at me. "You are the teacher, you should know." I said, "I just want to confirm." She said, "Okay, my child is 6. I said, "Oh, interesting." So what class is your child, please?" She looked at me again. She said, "She's in year 2. I said, "Oh, interesting." I said, "I have a child that is 5 years old, 1 year younger than your child, and my child is in year 1. And my child started doing this same concept you are complaining about that is too complicated for a year 2 child to do. My child started doing it when he was in nursery 2. And when she heard that, number 1, I had a child. Number 2, my child is younger than her child. Number 3, my child started doing that same concept she was complaining about 2 years before her child was even introduced to it, she went silent and she couldn't say anything. I always say something: if your child is going to be in my class, you should be able to trust me that I am professional enough to do my job. If you don't trust your child with me, then your child has no business being in my class. Take your child to where you can, to a teacher you can trust. You shouldn't micromanage me. I am not a customer-based business. I am taking care of generations. So you need to understand the dynamics of what is going on. Yes, I will carry you along with whatever I'm doing, but I don't have to take the final say from you, because I am a professional in my own right. You will not tell a doctor how to treat you. Neither will you tell a lawyer how to fight for your case in court. So why should you come to my profession and tell me this is how my child should be taught? If you can simply do it, why did you bring your child to school? After all, people do homeschooling. Go ahead and do it. We see parents come to school and say, oh, I've heard a parent say clearly, I've only brought my child to this school to be taught math and English. I didn't bring my child to be taught morals, so don't teach my child morals. Yes. And I was so happy that day with the kind of response my boss gave to him. My boss said something. She said, in as much as school is a business that I must make money from, I did not start this school solely to make money. I began this school solely to touch lives of the children that I teach. And if you will not allow me touch the life of your child, you're free to take your child and go. And that was the end of the conversation. That parent knew that for his child to be in, if you really like what we do here, and you want your child to be a part of what we do here, we have a standard that you have to follow. That is one thing schools need to also understand. I'm not here just to talk to parents alone. I'm also here to talk to school managements. Because when you have your standard and you stand by it, people know the truth and they still want the truth, even when they are asking otherwise. They only need to be sure that you know what you're doing. I've been in a school where a parent came to talk to my boss, and she said, I don't like the way Miss Vimy teaches my child. She's not she does not love my child. She does not do this. She leveled a lot of allegations against me. I wasn't there. So, and my boss said something to her, because the child happened to be of the genotype SS. She had the SS genotype. And coincidentally, the day before that day, I was running helter-skelter to ensure that this child was okay, even before having to call the parents in. Because as teachers, you need to understand, we don't only just facilitate the learning of your children. We are doctors. We are first aiders. We are psychologists. We are nurses. We are basically everything to them. We are basically everything to them. We ensure not just their academic powers, but we ensure that they are physically okay. We ensure that they are socially balanced. They're emotionally fine. They're psychologically sound. We do all these things embedded in one. And my boss responded, so I said, if only you were here yesterday to see how she was running helter-skelter to make sure your child is fine, you would not say what you just said now. Because no teacher who does not like your child would go that extent for your child. And that was the end of discussion. Another one came in and said, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. And my boss asked the question, when you came into the school, did you, or before you came into the school, did you see any advert anywhere? She said no. She said, how did you join? From referrals. I said, okay. So those people that referred you must have told you something about this school. She said yes. And those things you heard must have felt good, that you felt like you would really like a child to be here. She said yes. I said fine. See, those things that you heard, they were not done by me. I only sit in this office to oversee everything. Those things that you heard that made you decide that I'm bringing my child to this school were done by these teachers. Allow them to do their jobs. These are schools that stood for the rights of their teachers, that protected their teachers, because they understood that they already used a fine-tooth comb to get the best hands, and now it is their turn to protect the interests of their teachers. Allow them do their job. And I've also worked in a school where my boss told me customer service is eye service, and I told her, excuse me ma, I don't do eye service. Let's help these children become better. Let's identify the problem and let's deal with it. I don't do eye service, because if my own teacher had done eye service with me, I won't be here today. I will not be here today. So I will not do eye service, because I don't want any other teacher to do eye service with my own children. These children, they are not just my students. They are a generation that will pass on whatever I pass into them onto the next generation. And that's why I will not do eye service, because I will not toy with their life. And we see a lot of schools like that. All they do is they package everything just to please the parents, just to ensure that parents don't take out their children from the school. The changing dynamics of the educational landscape. But then, parents, it's not that parents are bad or that they hate teachers. No, they don't. They really do not. Actually, they have good intentions. They have good intentions. They have good, they want the best for their children. They want to be sure that the money they are paying is actually well utilized. They want to be sure that their children are in safe hands. The only thing is they don't know how to draw the line. And because they couldn't draw the line, most parents have moved from the partners that they should be to become supervisors. They now start asking you, what's the topic you will teach next week? And so, how are you going to teach it? There's nothing bad in asking the topic you will teach next week, because like I said, teachers have now become facilitators of learning. So, even before you ask, we'll give your child the topic they will do next week, because we need them to go and research. We're building research skills in them. We need them to go and research about it, then come back and ask all the questions we want them to ask. Because not only are we just teaching them, we're building critical skills in them. Communication skills. Those things that you have learned, or those things that you have researched, come and tell us, what do you understand? What have you picked from it? So we're building communication skills. We're building resilience. Ability to be able to sit yourself down without giving up and doing what you need to do. We don't only give them information on a platter, because the world will not give them anything they want on a platter. The world needs problem solvers, so we build this problem solving skills in them. So naturally we would give them the topics. But by the time you're beginning to ask, and so what materials are you using? And this material, no, you're not supposed to use it. Excuse me, why don't you just come in and take over? We'll gladly learn from you too. Because we are lifelong learners. We would gladly learn from you too. Parents have moved from being supporters to become critics. You know, there is a difference between critiquing your work and letting you know, oh, you're doing this one, we really like what you do here, but I think it will be better if you do this, or I have this idea, I just want to share with you. There's a different thing. Yes, we would appreciate that. But when you begin to criticize what we do, if you did not trust your doctor, you won't go to him. So if you're with a doctor that you criticize, you will not give yourself to him to be treated. So why give your child to a teacher that you criticize? Why? Parents that are supposed to be collaborators. So it takes two to tango. You're supposed to work hand in hand. They've now become overseers. Some parents have totally, completely handed over their responsibility to the teachers. A child does not do homework, blame the teacher. Why did my child not do homework? Excuse me. Parents will tell you, I've heard parents say, the homework you give my child is too much. But in your own office, you bring work home. I'm not an advocate of too many homework, actually, because I'm an advocate of play. In fact, I encourage my parents, the parents of the children I teach, I encourage them to allow the children play. But then the child should understand that there is time for work and there is time for play. So when a child comes home with homework and you say, oh, it's too much, the homework should not go beyond 15 minutes, the homework should not go beyond 5 minutes, the homework should not go beyond, and then a child that knows that yes, this is what you're saying, this is the kind of battle you are giving my school and my teachers, then the child brings home just 3 questions and takes a million years to answer the questions, and you come back to school to battle the school again. Why would this? But then questions will be given in the exam. In the assessment, you have like 20 questions, and there'll be a timer, 1 hour, or even 1 hour 30 minutes, as the case may be. And afterwards, the papers are collected. The child that is used to just doing 5 minutes, answering 3 questions in 1 hour, 3 questions, or in over 2 hours, and you're complaining that the homework is too much, now get into a setting where you have to answer 20 questions in 1 hour. Please, what do you expect the child will do? The child fails. Then you come back and ask the teacher, why did my child fail? You have not allowed the teacher do their job. And now I remember during our own days, when you fail, you go and explain to your parents how you failed and why you failed. So on the way home, you are thinking about it already. You will need to go and explain why you failed. What were you doing when the teaching was going on? What were you doing in the exam hall that you could not replicate what has been given to you, or even answer the questions, transfer the skills that you've been given to answer your questions? You will need to explain to them. And we know for some African parents it's usually tougher. But now, when a child fails, it's the teacher that will be called into a panel. Come and explain why the child failed. And you hear things like, there's nothing like a bad student, there's only a bad teacher. Yes, I partially agree with that school of thought. Yes, partially. Because I've seen cases where teachers too do not give their very best to students. And I've seen cases where when you see a teacher who gives her very best, his or very best to students, the students actually do so well. But I've also seen cases where teachers are giving their all. Well-trained teachers giving their all, but because of the kind of how would I call it, the dynamics that we're finding in the educational spaces now, what the schools do, what the parents do, that work is not showing. Now teachers are under surveillance. Now you see a teacher that wants to go the extra mile for the child. They are thinking, they are planning their lessons, they are thinking, okay, I want to do it this way. But at the back of their mind, as they are thinking, I want to do it this way, they are like, hope they won't come for me. No, don't let me do this one. Okay, I will do it this way. Hope they won't come for me. No. I've had a teacher colleague, a colleague of mine, tell me something. One of the parent came for her, and it was very messy. It was very messy. And looking at the scenario of what actually happened, the teacher was, I'm not saying this because I'm a teacher, but the teacher was not in the wrong. She was only doing her job. But the parents did not understand, and she took it the other way. And it wasn't the first time she would do that. She does that every time. And because of that, the teacher had to say, I'll just leave the child. And I had to say, no, you will not neglect any child. I had to tell her, I understand what is going on, but you will not neglect any child. I'm the type of person that I'm used to being under fire from parents over my students. I am used to it. But every time at the end of the session, they always come back to say thank you. And because of that, I told her, I said, see, I don't care if I'm under fire with any parent. I don't care. As long as what I'm doing for that child is what the child needs, let them come for me, no problem. One day, they will understand what I'm doing. It might not be now, but one day, wherever I am, they will send a thank you into the wind. So I told her, you will not neglect this child, not on my watch. But we see cases where, because of these issues, some teachers will just say, I don't want problem. Let the child just be on one side. I don't want problem. A child comes with, I've seen issues where a child comes with water bottle to school, forgets it in school, and then the next thing you are calling the teacher. Why didn't you confirm that my child packed his water bottle? For an 8-year-old. Excuse me, am I supposed to still be your child's nanny? At that level, I am teaching your child to be responsible. Where is the responsibility of the parent to also teach that to the child? When my first son was in nursery 2 and he forgot his water bottle in school and he came home, I remember what I told him. I said, welcome back, sir. You have forgotten your water bottle in school. I said, that's amazing. If it was his lunch bag. I said, welcome back. You just told me that you don't need food tomorrow. He had a spare. I told him I won't give you spare. You just told me that you don't need food tomorrow. No problem. The following day, I did not even discuss with the father so that he would not talk me out of it. The following day, I prepared breakfast. I made sure he ate to his satisfaction. He was filled. I said, are you satisfied? He said, yes. I said, fine. I got bottled water. I kept it in his bag. I bought biscuits. He had snacks at home. That day I said, because you don't have lunch bag, there's no way I will put your snacks. So I went to buy biscuits. Then biscuits were 5 naira. So I bought 2 5 naira biscuits, kept in his bag. And then I told him, if your teacher calls me and tells me that you begged for food from another person, you are in trouble. You come back and meet me in this house. And that was the last day. That was the very last day that he forgot his things in school. Not only that he stopped forgetting his things in school, he never destroys anything. Nothing. You buy toys for children, they destroy. He never destroyed any of his toys. None of them. They were all in perfect shape. Not because he did not play with them, but he understood that, yes, in as much as I have the right to do these things, I also have a responsibility to protect them. They are mine. And I never had to talk about that again. I did the same thing when he was wasting food. He would take food to school and you just eat a little out of it and bring the rest home. Initially I was like, okay, you didn't finish, okay, finish it up and all that. But one day I got angry and I sat him down. I said, mister, in case you don't understand, for this food to get into your lunchbox, I have to wake up by 4, even though I sleep by 12. I will sleep 12 a.m. I will wake up by 4 because breakfast has to be ready before 5. I will pack your lunchbox. Then you will get to school and then you will pick it. I said, no, I'm giving you the last opportunity today. If you bring it back the same way, you're telling me, mommy, I don't need food anymore. They thought it was a joke. And I made sure I followed through. After that day, the very next day I went to pick him at school, instead of saying, welcome, mommy, what he told me was, I finished my food. And that was the end of it. He stopped wasting my food. Till date, he stopped wasting my food. I didn't have to tell the younger ones the same thing. He told them, you don't know the mother you have come to meet. These are the things you should not do with her. That's not being harsh to your child. That's only teaching your child responsibility, the value for things. In my line of teaching, I have seen children who know the amount of things, but they don't know the value. And then you hear a child, how much does your bag worth? How much does your house worth? Oh, your dad took you out of the football club because he could not afford to pay for it. And everything they talk about is money, 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 money. You hear a child tell the driver, tell the nanny, tell even teachers, you know, I can sack you. And because they actually know they can't sack them. Because the parents have transferred the power into their hands. Most parents cannot even talk to their children anymore. You hear things like, oh, thank God my child is not the only sports child in Lagos. So you know your child is sports. You hear things like, that's my boss, oh. An 8-year-old, your boss. I saw a write-up online some time ago. It says, hard times build tough men. Tough men build good times. Good times build weak men. Weak men build weak systems, and then weak systems build hard times. So it keeps going like that. I don't want my child to go through what I went through. Nobody is asking you. I once spoke about safeguarding and child protection. I'm not asking you to abuse your child, no. But in as much as you are giving your children the rights they deserve, because the children, they have rights, you're not denying them their rights. They should understand that for every right there is a responsibility. You have the right to education, yes. I have sent you to school. It is your responsibility to do well at school, to pay attention during lessons. Now we have children, we are having rising cases of class disruptions. And teachers are having to to leave lessons that is supposed to facilitate to start managing low-level disruptions. You see, children that don't want to learn and they don't want others to learn because they believe that, after all, my dad's company is there, my mom's company is there. Why do I have to learn? They don't hide it, they say it. You see, children in your class, as I am here speaking, they are there sending emails to their parents, reporting their teachers. Oh, this teacher did this, that teacher did that. And they know that when the emails get to their parents, the parents will forward the matter to the school and the school will be right behind them. There is no shield for the teacher. I'm not asking schools to support bad attitude, no, far from it. But imagine if a doctor's guild does not protect her doctors, and you have to now tell a doctor, I think I'm having a headache. You're going to give me paracetamol and or instead of paracetamol, just make it cocodamol. The doctor will just tell you, instead of being here, why didn't you just go to a pharmacist since you know what you want? And even a pharmacist will not even give you. The pharmacist will still ask for your prescription. That is in systems where the right things are done anyways. They know that when the matters get to their parents, the parent would be behind them. Now, in as much as even as teachers, we encourage that yes, be a participant in the academics of your children, in the education of your children. Ask them, try to bond with them. Ask them how their day went and all that. We need to understand that there is a thin line between asking them how their day went and gossip. Now, what most parents are building in their children is gossip. And they begin to, oh, this person did this, that one did that. There is no qualitative discussion. There isn't any qualitative discussion. Teachers are constantly under surveillance. And a teacher who is constantly under surveillance cannot give the best she has been trained to give. They can't. And because of this, children are absorbing the wrong lessons from their households. No more respect for authority. They don't respect their nannies. They don't respect their drivers. They don't have respect for adults. You see a child is coming and then dumps all his bag with the nanny or with the driver, and the child is just walking. I've had to stop so many students and say, go back, go get your bag quickly. Even when parents, sometimes you see parents are the ones carrying the bags. Say, no mommy, no daddy, please. That's the first line of responsibility. They need to understand, it's my bag, I should carry it. Except in cases where, let's say, the child is in foundation stage, and because of all the food and all the things they bring to school, their bags are usually heavy. Yes, we can say you can help them carry. In fact, even we would offer to help. But now that we have trolley bags and all that, we tell the parents, please give to the child to drag along. It's easy to drag along. Let them begin to have these responsibilities. You see school resumes on Monday, and by Tuesday the lost and found is already filled to the brim with things that these students bring to school and never look for. They never look for it. Never look for it. Because they know my parents will buy another one. My parents will buy another one. I heard a story of a parent that the child destroyed his laptop, and the mom told him, well done, for this laptop that you've destroyed, I'm going to have to get you another one from your allowance. So she made sure that the boy saved. Yes, he might not have saved up to the amount of the laptop, because we know what technology is talking about these days. Things are expensive. He might not have saved up to that amount, but she made sure that he saved up. And you know now how it is when it is their own money. So by the time she got the money and bought him a new laptop, he was very careful with it. Sometimes you'll see children will just carry laptop. Now that we have the use of personal owned laptops in schools, children will just carry expensive laptops. We'll just carry, oh, it fell. And you'll be wondering, what's going on? Some children will just drop the laptops anyhow, even trample over it. And sometimes I'll practically scream, you're standing on the screen, get it up quickly so it doesn't damage. I say, oh, okay. And I wonder, where did this all go wrong? They need to learn the value of things. We need to teach them the value of things again. They don't know. Most children don't know the value of things. At best, many of them just know the prices. Oh, this is $10,000. This is, I bought this at 200,000. I bought, and they will be saying, how much is yours? Mine is 200,000. How much is yours? Oh, yours is just 100K. Oh, that's so cheap. When a parent could ask a child, how poor could you be to wear a 1,000 naira earring? How poor could you be? And I wonder in my head, what lesson are you putting into this child? Is it to know the amount of things or to know the value of things? I once had an issue with a parent some time ago, many years ago, and it was the boy's birthday, and the way birthdays used to be celebrated then, they come in with the cake is divided and shared amongst the classmates and all that. The teachers take theirs, the celebrant takes his. If they want some part to go home, it goes home. If they want everything to be shared, it's being shared, and all that and all that. So the cake came in, they didn't ask for any part to come home. They gave the authority that the authorization that everything should be shared in school. We said okay. So by the time it was time to share the cake, she told me that the boy had cousins in school that she would like to also get out of the cake. I said okay, that's fine. So when it was time to celebrate the boy, we cut the cake. I told him, Mr. Celebrant, come and pick anyone you want, because he is the celebrant. It is his cake. He should take anyone he wants. So he took everything he wanted. I said, are you sure you're okay with this? He said, oh, I also want the decoration on the cake. I said, by all means. He took it. So I said, are you okay with it? He said, it's fine. I said, fine. You can keep yours now. Please call me your cousins, because I don't know them and I don't know the classes they are. He said, oh, no, let me take it to them. I said, no. Call them. I want to give it to, I want to be sure that they got it themselves. So he called them over to the class, and I told him, please, by all means, give them their own cake. So he gave them the cake. And afterwards, I distributed the cakes amongst the children in the class, and myself and the other teacher in class took ours. Only for after the children had gone home, I was still in school working, and I got a call from the parents. My son said you did not give him cake. Imagine how lost I was. And I was searching in my head. How? Why will I give everyone cake? I even made sure that all his cousins got individually and not give the celebrant. So I was like, is he sure that I actually gave him? He was even the very first person to get. I said he did not get. I said okay, if that be the case, I apologize about that. That there is a piece that I took as a teacher. If you don't mind, you can just drive by and pick it up. I would rather not get a piece than for the celebrant not to get. She said, oh, no, don't worry, that's fine. I just wanted to be sure. I said, I apologize once more. I said, okay. And then, after the call, I sent an apology to her that I am very sorry if he didn't get a cake, but I'm very sure that I actually gave him a cake. But if he did not get, I apologize again. The very next day, I saw the father and the mother in school with my boss. And the next thing I heard was, I know this is an apology, but I have issues with it. Issues? How? What's up? And I'm like, how? You know this is an apology. I mean, thank God you know it's an apology. But you have issues with it. How? So I gave it to my boss. I said, please, look through it. What do you think is wrong? Probably the way I formed the words or the sentences or something. Probably my tone. She looked at it. She couldn't say anything. I apologized again. Then I left. Then I took it to another person who is one of my superiors. Took it to her. I said, could you please look through this text message and tell me what is wrong? Because at this point, I wasn't trying to prove a point. I just wanted to know what was wrong so that I won't make that mistake anymore. So she looked at it again. She said, there's nothing wrong with this. It is an apology. I said, okay. I took it to another person. Could you please help me look through? Because I know we have different perspectives. So maybe if different people look at it, they might be able to look at it from different angles and tell me what is wrong. Because I really wanted to learn what was wrong. The other person too looked at it. There's nothing wrong with it. I said, okay, thank you. And I went back to my class. Subsequently, I think that same day we went to the dining. At the dining, the way they do there is each child goes to where the food is being served. You ask for whatever you want to eat. You ask for the quantity you want. That's how, to avoid wastage. So this particular child has always been the one that, in our class, the rule is no food wastage. I personally do not like food wastage because there are children dying all around the world of hunger. So if you have access to food, why should you waste it? So I teach my students too the same thing, and I make sure that whatever rule we make in class, number one, we make it together. Number two, we all follow. I won't say because I'm the teacher. I personally do not even like to eat. It was so bad that they when I taught them how to write a Kenny's poem, they wrote one for me and said food eater, and I was like, oh my god, these children have seen me finish. So I really do not like to eat. But when it comes to eating, I have to force myself to, because the rule has to be obeyed. It's do as I do, not do as I say. I try to lead by example. But this particular child is always wasting food, and I've been talking to him. You don't waste. Okay, let's do it this way instead. When you want to eat, just go collect one scoop. If you need more, go back and take more. One thing with the dining is they will never tell you stop coming. If you like, come back 10 times. They'll keep giving you. So if you need more, go back and collect. But this particular boy knows he will only eat one scoop. He will collect 4. And then he will just pick. And then leave the rest to waste. Why are you collecting 4? It's not a preserved meal that would have said, oh, they served excess and you can't finish it. You requested for 4, for crying out loud. So that day I told him, I said, ask for 1. If not, anything you collect, you will finish it. Because that's the rule. And every other child is looking. Because they will also say, why am I finishing my own meal and this person is not finishing his own meal and nothing is being done? Because this is a collectively made rule. We made it collectively. It was not imposed on anybody. So everybody should be willing to follow the rule. And the boy went, collected 4 as usual. Collected chicken. And I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I don't mind if I have to feed you. You know you're my baby. I will feed you, don't worry. And I started feeding him. And he was eating. Only for me to get a report the next day that I was stuffing the food down his throat. And I was mortified. I was like, stuffing food. He said, an 8-year-old said, I saw her. He was gagging and she was still stuffing it. How? Is it like Indian movie that, the action would have happened and then he's still going in slow motion? Maybe I had finished feeding the child, then the action of me gagging him was happening while I had left. I didn't know. An 8-year-old, at 8 years old, she was already a false witness. I saw her. I saw him. He was gagging. It was at that point the complaint came that you are forcing someone who is vegetarian to eat chicken. Number one, I had never even been told that he's vegetarian, and this boy had constantly collected chicken by his own self. So you are vegetarian and you are collecting chicken. Why are you collecting it? If you're vegetarian, you should not collect. I didn't serve you. You ordered for it yourself. And then the next thing the head of school mentioned was, even my husband does not finish his food. He wastes meals. And then I just gave up. If that can come from a head of school, all in the name of we don't want to lose these parents, so we are not teaching the right morals into the children, then I give up. Children begin to pick up wrong lessons. They begin to understand that it is fine to look adults in the eye and talk to them anyhow. They begin to understand that it is fine not to have respect for anybody, not to have respect for authority. And And in turn, these children, they lack resilience because they know that once I have any problem, my parents will solve it for me. I don't have to push through. Once they are tired, oh, please go and rest. You don't have to do anything. But when you were in school, you knew how you were doing TDB till daybreak. You were hustling, you were reading. In the Nigerian context, we'll say you were jacking, pulling through. But then it comes to the turn of your own children. I don't want them to go through what I went through. All the suffering they are supposed to go through, I've gone through it. Nobody's asking the children to suffer. But you need to understand that hard times create strong men. And good times create weak men. Before they ask, they have received. Before they knock, it has been opened. Before they seek, they are found. They don't even know the difference between want and need. But everything I once saw a child in this present economy where, how much is minimum wage, please? 70,000, somebody's salary. And the child spent over 75,000 on snacks at a spot. On snacks. Now that's not even the worst part of it. The worst part of it is, after buying everything with her own hands, she chose the snacks she wanted and it was paid for. And then she got back. I don't want this, but you chose them. Lack of responsibility. Your children have over dependency. And then you now ask me a question, why a child does not have inner drive? Why does he not have self-drive? Am I still the one that will enter the child and go and drive the child? You're not giving the child anything that would drive him or her. And then you are asking the teacher, why does my child not have inner drive? Because when the teacher is even trying to encourage this child, everything the teacher is doing, you're bringing them down. They lack problem-solving skills. Because once they run into any problem, Daddy, Mommy, and then you come like the superhero that you are, and you make all the problem disappear. So they know that once I have a problem, why should I stress myself to think about how to solve it, when I can simply call a mommy or daddy and they will appear. And even if they can't appear, their peers would appear. How can a parent ask a nanny why a 14-year-old is looking unkempt? 14-year-old looking unkempt. And the question is not going to the 14-year-old. The question is going to the nanny. Why is my child looking unkempt? I understand that yes, that's what they are there for. You brought them in to help you take care of your children. But you need to understand that these children also need some level of responsibility. This year makes it 20 years that I've been teaching. And over the years, I have seen clear disparity between children that have responsibility at home and those that have no responsibility. I said in one of my speeches, when you're teaching your child how to wash plates, it's not the skill of washing plates you're giving to the child. Because when the child grows, the child would outsource it. But there's a skill that the child learns from washing plates that cannot be outsourced. Problem-solving skills. I talked about the skills I learned when my dad taught me how to wash plates. Organizational skills. I still use it till date. When things are becoming scattered, the first thing I do, I arrange it. And I still do that in the process I use to teach my students math till date. Math is an abstract subject, yes. But they also need to understand that even though it is abstract, it is in everything that we do. So when I teach them the concept of math, I bring it to the real world where they can easily organize it and see That thing that is catching your head, especially word problems. You know, when you say John has 20 balls and he gave Uche 18 balls, how many balls does he have left? When you read from the beginning to the end, then everything is scattered. So no, take it step by step. John has 20 balls. How many balls does he have? If you want to write it down, if you want to draw, I encourage them to draw. Okay, he has 20 balls. He gives Uche 18 balls. What is he doing? Say, oh, he gives, he's taking away. Beautiful. Now, if he takes away 18 balls from the 20 balls, the next sentence says, how many does he have now? What are you to do? Well, I'm supposed to get the answer. And that's where we get the rucksack method. The child will not see that kind of question again and say, oh, I don't know what to do. We see students in exam halls. They're giving assessment and they see the paper. They just look at it and the next thing, I don't understand. And you ask, have you read the question? No. Have you tried to analyze it? No. So how don't you understand? Oh. We see it happen. Day in, day out. And sometimes I say, I don't understand. I say, can you read the questions? And when they read, in the place of reading, you just hear them say, oh. We don't encourage problem solving. And because of that, they don't have it. They lack accountability. No accountability whatsoever. Because you don't hold them accountable to things that they should be held accountable for. Instead, somebody else is held accountable. I used to have a student in my class. There was a day she forgot her laptop in school. Laptop. How will you come to school and forget? Please. Even those of you that are core members, do you forget your laptops? I don't understand. A child will come to school and forget laptop. And the nanny was so distressed that day. She came to my class and you could see the distress in her face. And she was like, if I don't see this laptop, I am in trouble. I had to stand up. And I started looking around the school for the laptop because it was obviously not in class. She took it out of class, chopped it elsewhere. I had to help her look for it. In fact, when we saw it, if she could carry me, she would carry me that day. Because of the kind of trouble, I don't want to imagine the trouble she would be in for her to be in that great distress. But the child that lost the laptop, no care whatsoever, no worries, because she's not going to be held responsible. No worries. And now we see children come into class. A teacher is teaching, they're doing something else. As you're stopping them from this one, they are jumping to another one. As you're stopping them from that, because there's really no concern, no responsibility whatsoever. They don't care. If you like, pay 10 million. If you like, pay 20 million for school fees. If you like, pay 40 million. They don't care. They really do not care. They really do not care. Because you've not allowed them to understand accountability. You need to learn to hold them accountable. Let them understand that yes, in as much as you have the rights, you also have responsibilities. And hold them accountable. They are emotionally fragile. It is in this time and age that I see children having to go to therapy because somebody refused to be their friend. Excuse me? The very first day I heard it, I'm like, what's going on? I had some students I taught a few years back. There was one very small student, very small like me, small but mighty. And she was the one controlling even the tall ones. And then you will hear something like, what did she say to you? Go and tell her that she's stupid. And then you see the tall one going, you are very stupid. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, someone told you to go and do something wrong. You did not even process it in your head, and you just went to regurgitate it. Where are we going with these children? And then you hear things like, because he refused to be my friend, I am depressed. To the extent that the child has to see it. The child is not being bullied. This is not a case of bullying. I would say, okay, the child needs to see a therapist or something. This is not a case of bullying. This is a case of low self-esteem. You cannot choose your own friends. Your friends have to now choose you. And if they don't choose you, you begin to feel bad. You begin to feel depressed. We are now preparing children for failure instead of preparing them for the real world. You now hear things like, the competition has to be, you don't have to let them know that it's a competition. You just have to like, excuse me, the world is a competition. These children should be made to understand how to compete fairly. They need to understand that failure itself is a gift. You now have children who are dreadful of failure. You have children that even you as a teacher, you are scared that they should not fail. Do you know why? Because if that child fails, there will be trouble. You can lose that child totally. They feel discouraged. They don't understand that failure is a gift. It helps you to know what you're doing and what you're doing better. The speaker once spoke about driving and gave the analogy of using driving, saying how many of us were professional drivers the very first day we started driving. How many of us? The same thing with walking. How many of us started jumping and leaping and flying the very first day we took our first step? Children need to understand that every professional was once an amateur. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. They need to understand. I spoke about the power of yet. They need to understand how powerful yet is. We need to support them to reach their full potential, not shield them from the harsh truth. I don't want my child to suffer. And that's why we see young people, youth, any little thing, suicide. Any little thing, suicide. And you wonder what's going on. Emotional intelligence, zero. They are so emotionally fragile that they don't even know that tough times don't last, but tough people do. Erosion of teacher authority. The authority of the teacher has been greatly eroded. That now you cannot even talk to the child anymore, because the child knows that if you say anyhow, you will collect. I've heard of cases where parents go to school to fight teachers. I've heard of cases where a parent went to school because he is in a highly placed position in the society, got to school, slapped the teacher, and the school asked the teacher to apologize. Where are we going? And you now expect that the child of that parent to see the teacher the next day and respect the teacher. And this does not only happen in Nigeria. There was a time on the internet, there was a video that went viral of a teacher fighting a student. I don't know if we saw that video. The teacher was fighting the student. In as much as I know that I would not stoop that low, but I think I understand what went on behind the scene. the school must have always been behind the student. Probably she has been reporting the case and nobody was doing anything. And the students knew that they had the power. And they knew. Because these children are actually smart. Many years ago, I heard a speaker say something that whatever you want to teach a child, whatever value you want to build in a child, you build it from 0 to 3 years. Between 0 to 3. And I was like, wow. Because actually, that was what I did with my own children. Between 0 to 3, I already put the values in them. But society was making it seem like I was crazy. Why would you be doing this to a child below 3? Why would you be doing this to a child that is 3 years old? Why would you? They were making it seem like I was crazy. But when I saw that it was an encouragement to me, I said, okay, I think I'm doing the right thing. And I actually see it because these same people that criticize me for the way I'm training my children are still the same people that will beat up their children. Can't you see how this child is doing? Can't you act like him? Excuse me, you don't like my methods, but you want my results. So when I heard the speaker say that everything you want to train in a child, every value you want to put in your child, respect, responsibility, honesty, whatever it is, integrity, you have to put them in between the ages of 0 and 3. That's the foundational stage. Because anything you do after a 3, you're building already. The foundation is completed. And here we have parents that believe that a child cannot do anything until they clock 10. Say, oh, now you are 10. Now you can begin to do house chores. And I froze at 10. Okay. And you still see a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old in some homes would eat, and it is the nanny that will come and clear the table. No. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we building in these children? I once was contacted to take a child at the onset of my teaching career. A parent met me and said, I would like you to train my child personally. I would like you to teach my child personally. And after the very first lesson, after the first class, I told the parent, I'm sorry, I will not be able to take your child again. And I stopped taking the child. Money was not the problem. But the problem was this child had no respect for authority. And there is no way a child who has no respect for authority would get anything from that system. It would be just fetching water in a basket. So I understood that and I told the parents, I'm sorry, I don't think I can work with your child. Many years down the line, I came to understand what I did by the time I started getting more trainings. Yes, I did that based on impulse then, but I did not know what I did professionally. But later I got to know that I got to know about what I did professionally, and it was still the right thing to do. But now I have a professional backing for it. A child that does not respect authority will not get anything from that system. So a child is in my class, does not respect my authority, and you expect that child to really learn under me. It won't work. When we were in school, to teachers we don't like, we never learn from them. We never learn from them because once they enter, I understood that quickly. I think there was a particular course, history. I used to love history a lot when I was in SS1. But then SS2, another teacher was given the subject and then he messed it up. And then I was like, no, that's it. And that was what made me drop history in WAEC. I understood that from that scenario. And that was why when my government teacher refused to come to class, I told myself, instead of hating you, I I would just put you on one side and face the subject, and I began to study the subject, and that was why I did well in government. So because I understood that, I tried to make sure that I also let my students understand, and even the students I don't teach. Any teacher you hate, you will not pass the subject. It's not a course. Because whatever they say, you will not understand. It's like that because emotionally you are closed to them, so you won't be able to absorb anything from them. So no matter how a teacher behaves badly, I'm not here to shield teachers now. No matter how a teacher behaves, your focus is on the subject because you need to get something out of it. So when a child does not respect the teacher, how do you expect the child to do well in that subject? I had some set of students that when I came into their class, they were acting however they wanted, and they were not listening. They were being so antagonizing and all that, and the other teacher in class would be like, you guys are being so unfair. She just even came in, you're not even giving her a listening here, and you already have a bias about her and all that and all that. Nothing I was saying was getting through them. They had their bias already, and they were not ready to listen to anything I was saying. So one day, these children went to Google me online. I know before that day, they told me, one of them told me, you know, I can sack you, and you're just trying to act like pretend that you love us because your job is at stake, and I can actually get this job off you. And I looked at the child and I told him, sorry to disappoint you, but you can't take my job. That's number one. Number two, I am not acting like I love you because my job is at stake. I love you, and it's not because of my job. And then he said, because I know that this job is the best thing that ever happened to you. So I told him number three. I said, number three, this job is not the best thing that ever happened to me. I had better opportunities that I had to let go of to be here. And if God says this is that I won't be here anymore, there are still better opportunities waiting for me in future. And I guess that confidence to be able to respond to them that way was what triggered them to go and look me up. And they went to look me up online. And they came back the next day. Oh, so you taught abroad before. No wonder you said this job is not the best job. It's not the best opportunity you ever had, and that you had other options and this and that. And that was the end of the disrespect. But then I questioned myself. Do I need to have taught abroad to command your respect? What if I had not had the opportunity to teach abroad, but I still know my onions? Would you treat me like a sham? It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. Teacher authority is being greatly eroded. It really should not be so. And this is taking an emotional toll on educators. It's taking an emotional toll on teachers. Because now you hear teachers say, anything that is not in my job description, I will not do. Anything that the parent has refused to teach the child, I will not do. Yeah, parents asking, why is it that the children of nowadays, they don't greet anymore? Did you even teach your child to greet at home? So I will not do. But like I said, parents are not the enemy. They just need the balance. They need to balance it. They really need to balance it. I will be talking about how best to balance it and the more reason why we need to balance it in my very next speech. So for now, I'd like to remind us, teachers are only a signpost to direct your child to what they need to see and not exactly show them what they need to see. But they cannot do this if they are not allowed to do that which they have been trained to do. They are professionals, just like your doctors, just like your lawyers. They are professionals. They know their onions. Allow them to do their job. On this note, I will be passing the mic on to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today, we are part of something historic. A relay of voices. A marathon of ideas. A powerful reminder that voice, clarity, and thoughts can change lives. And the idea I bring to you